Well, we hope everyone had an incredible experience with the hill, and everyone was ready to move on to week 2, which is a carry, and the mindset is keep it close. So we've done a lot of carries with the mindsets. I think there's a lot, whenever we're like holding something, carry, even just in the gym, doing a sandbag carry, or, the first thing that automatically comes up is like, just drop it. I think it gets hard. And, so there's something to be said about just carrying things also in our lives, like what you're carrying. We've done some work around even rucking with what's in your ruck, like letting things go. So what comes, like, what do you think is really valuable in this one for people with the notion of like keep it close and the carry, and how people can approach this one and not get caught in not making it easier for themselves, but maybe missing the mark a little bit?
Well, mechanically, I think the way in which we execute the sandbag carry will have a just a more sort of accurate connection, maybe, to the mindset. So we're talking about keeping it close. We're talking about the locus of control. Some might look at that and draw parallels to like a growth of a fixed mindset, either to growth, to lots of things here. We want this to be an active kind of experience, active in body and active in mind, keeping it close, keeping our control close to us, or an internal locus of control, meaning I'm able to do something regardless of like what's happening, versus an external locus of control is like things are happening to me. Now, it is true things do happen to people.
Sure.
And yet in that, you still have a degree of control.
Right.
Not in if it's going to happen to you, but how you are going to respond to it, how you're going to deal with it.
Yeah.
So what does that have to do with carrying a sandbag? If you put the sandbag on your shoulders, your frame is naturally going to carry it for you.
It's less active.
It's less active.
Right.
It's a bit more passive. You're still like loading yourself, no doubt. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that it might be a little bit of a miss on the mindset. You might not fully get the experience.
Right. Because what comes up, anyone who maybe you haven't ever done, you've never done a bear hug, so you're holding this bag, backpack, whatever your load is, in front of you. And we all know also if you've done that, keeping it close, you really need to sort of hug it in so it doesn't kind of pull you and kind of put you in a bad position and just, have you fall or whatever. So that experience, if you've never had it, is kind of what we're looking for, because you can't, even if it was something light, and people know this about their kids, if you have a baby, that baby gets heavy fast. Like there's a point at which you're going to have to put it down too. And it's going to create for most people, I don't know how much longer I can carry this thing. Whereas on your shoulders or something like that, it's sort of just wearing you down, but you're not having that like question of, can I do this as much?
Right. For much of the shouldering, like if it's let's just say it's the sandbag with the handles and you pop it across your shoulders, your bones are doing most of the work.
Right. It's a structural situation. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe there's people out there who can squeeze their bones. I can't. I haven't figured that one out yet. So it's no doubt difficult to do, but it's just not as active. And we do want it to be, of course, there's people have equipment that they have.
Yeah.
Fair enough. The good thing about sand is it's cheap.
Yes.
And you can get a lot of weight for a low cost. So having a sandbag that has some fluff to it, where you can really get your arms around it, and is heavier, really drives this one home.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you have to clean it up and whatnot, like physically clean it into your position. But we want there to be a sensation of this is happening to me. Mm-hmm. Maybe I want to do this, but I'm just staring at it. It's on the ground. I'm staring at it.
You're having doubt. There's going to be doubt.
You're having doubt. Yeah. We want that to be part of the experience. Sure. And in that moment, we encourage you to keep your control close, asking yourself, what can I do? Sure. And if you know for a fact you can't restart in that moment, okay, like that's what it is. Mm-hmm. But keeping it more on that active, proactive component of control, because one of the hardest things in this experience is the amount of effort required to move the sandbag is not insignificant.
Right.
And neither is the time of each effort.
Right. Yeah.
So you're like putting out a 4-minute carry is hard.
That's long.
Especially if it's a load that you have to really squeeze, like a 4-minute carry, you're like, oh my God. And then you drop, you're like, I am 4 minutes in.
There's an element of overwhelm, I think, with this one.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, and this is, everyone has a different experience, and we're careful to not outline like, this is how you might feel. That's how I might feel, because it's so different for everyone. However, I think it's good for people to understand with this one, my personal experience carrying it was hard, but often it was like the time in between where you're staring at the thing on the ground, trying to determine to that point, like, what can I control? What can I do? And just being honest with yourself and not letting the overwhelm, kind of get you. Just focusing on that moment and the presence piece. It really kind of brings you into that moment. Because if you're thinking about at minute 54, at minute 4,
right,
it's going to be you're missing it, or not missing it, but
even
you're too far down the line. You got to pull yourself back to where you're at.
Which is consistent with the keep it close. Mm-hmm. So so you can say keep the sandbag close, but keep your orientation to the present close. Yeah. Be in minute 4, not 54.
Yeah.
Or 54,
And this is something, back to when we spoke about the hill, we were talking about the mental and physical combination. Being present is something that is talked about a lot, especially in the current culture, phones and social media.
Yeah.
Everyone's distracted. So how do you work on presence? And that is something that there's many, many books and wonderful books and ideas on talking about presence. But we love this workout because it's a physical experience of having overwhelmed, having your mind go maybe out of the present moment and having to come back. And so you're kind of in this physical training of that practice. And, the real value is when you're not carrying a sandbag around, maybe you're overwhelmed at work or the kids or whatever the thing is, and just coming back to like what you can control, what's in this moment. But I think that's really the value of like some of these is not just talking about a concept. I mean, I would love to be more present, but okay, how do you work on that? And that's where these are not necessarily about, how heavy you carried it, how far you carried it, but more being honest about the experience, challenging yourself to ensure you get the value of the mindset.
What did you say? I just checked.
Get present.
Yeah, and one of the things that we'll use, again, this is not about therapy, but as a therapist, this is something I'm scanning for and tracking. Is if I see someone check out, which again, a lot of times happens subconsciously. It happens as a response to overwhelming material, and it's a brilliant way of kind of escaping from that. That a lot of times we do unconsciously, and hey, we can make awareness of it. But to orient people back into the room, to bring them back into the room. Literally, that's what I'll say. You might do something like some people have heard of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method for ground. 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you smell, 2 things you taste, 1 thing you
touch. But I think you got that wrong. But anyway.
Touch, 4. Okay.
5, 4, 3.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Basically, bring your senses on.
Yeah.
Do that in this.
Yeah.
Do that in this. And when you're carrying it, and again, it's not something that you're going to be able to do all of the time.
Sure.
Purpose is not perfection. It's the practice. Feel your body moving.
Yeah.
Feel what it's like. Feel your grip. Hear the birds chirping or the people. Feel the ground beneath you. Listen. I said that already. Feel the texture. All of that.
Hopefully there's not a lot of tasting going on.
Taste that blood in your mouth. What I mean?
The other thing, though, that I was going to say before, talking about kind of getting ahead of yourself, one of the things that not bothers me, but I think is a tendency in fitness, is to get things over with.
Oh, yeah.
And we've spoken about that. I used to swim twice a week with a group, and I loved it. But we hadn't even gotten into the pool yet. And the one woman was always like, let's just get this over with. And I don't think that helped anything. I think it's like, well, if you just want to get it over with, why are you here? And well, sure, the feeling of being done and that, yes, everyone loves that.
Really?
But don't do it just to check the box. Try to be part of that experience. And you got to go through the full 60 minutes. Don't just wish it away. And I think, that's obviously very cliche for life, but it's very true. I can't wait for this. I can't wait for that to be over this year. Well, the next thing you know, it's all over, where were you during all those things? So, there can be a tendency, sure, when things get challenging to be like, oh, I can't wait for this to be done. But just being aware of that if that comes up, when it comes up, and kind of reminding yourself, well, I'm here because I want to get some value out of it. And you can't get the value out of it if it's just done already. So,
Great point. Yeah, really, really good point.
So if you don't have a sandbag, you can get play sand at the hardware store, a backpack, but any kind of oval, roundish situation, again, like you said, you want it to be fluffy enough that you can kind of get your arms around. Not this situation.
Like interlocking your
fingers. It's better if you can kind of get a grip so you can really engage more of your musculature. But if it's too small, it can kind of be squirmy, weird. So, trying to maybe you add some whatever you need to, towels, whatever, to the sand to get it to be, spend some time if you have it to kind of get it right versus just grabbing the first thing you got and maybe having it be like, oh, I wish I had the right implement.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, pillowcase can a double. If their pillowcase can work really well.
Might not want to use that pillow again. No. We'll wash it. Just wash it after.
Yeah. But if you can, try to have it something that you can hug. And again, there's something about that as well. That's maybe a different rabbit hole we won't jump down.
If you can't do that, I think that rather than on the shoulder, would you say a heavier farmer carry? Would you go with that before you go to the shoulder, or maybe a one-sided shoulder, something that's a little not sustainable?
Good question. I think I would probably say maybe a goblet carry.
Yeah.
If you can, because that's definitely going to burn the delts too. Just try not to, just obviously don't get hurt, but be honest with it. You can do a farmer guide. We've done, that's been a class.
Something that just as long as you're honest with, like, you're not walking out the mall with your shopping bags. This is like, it's got to be something that within a few minutes, for sure, you're sort of thinking.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an absolute, like there's been people who, no one from the street park community, so we're on the same team here. There was someone who espouses to be really like hardcore, and they used like a 20-pound Met ball and didn't put it down as a way to avoid the humility of having to put it down.
Right.
And, if you're coming back from surgery or whatever it might be, or you don't know what you have, like there's many different options. Try to make it such that putting it down is the most honest thing.
Yeah. Just be honest.
Yeah. Just be honest with it. So yeah. Anything else on that?
I don't think so. If you do have questions and specifics, definitely reach out, and we're happy to help everybody. But yeah, go and explore and keep it close.